Class number 13. Yeah?
No, 10-3.
13. Did you just try to put up 13 fingers?
I did 23. 10-10-3.
Oh, got it. Perfect. Welcome to class number 10, minus 10, plus 3, carry the 1. Entrepreneurial training for coaches. I just can't say enough about how valuable it is to get your engagement, your interactions. I spent a good chunk of the morning today watching a lot of the videos that you guys have posted, and it's actually difficult for me because I want to do an hour class on every video, right? Because somebody says something that's really important. All right, let's dive in. Let's dissect that. Let's open that up. And how do we apply that? And blah. But thank you for all the shares that you guys have been giving. And this class is about maximizing your potential. And potential is a really, really important word. And we probably won't unlock it as much as we can or dive into it as much as we can today, but we'll continue to talk about potential. Before we get into that, Michelle was speaking at the end of last class, which was 10-10-2, and she started talking about threat, and I paused her and I said, all right, this is a big one, but let's pause for now and we'll continue the conversation. So I'm going to throw it back over to you, Michelle, and you can continue that discussion.
Yeah. So what I was sharing at the end of the call yesterday was just about the importance of understanding the journey of creativity and understanding what it's actually going to likely bring up for you internally if you're like most people, right? So this might not be everybody, but if you're like most people, there's going to be resistance because most of us had an experience, and Sean, we've talked about this inside of our the earlier training classes. Most of us have an experience of being punished, right? Whether it was verbally, emotionally, energetically punished for our full authentic expression. And so as we step into this new creative environment, we are going to feel the threat of this isn't safe, right? Now it might be language differently for you, but for me, the way it showed up was that this isn't safe. They can't find out about who I am. If they find out, then they won't love me, right? If they find out, then I'm going to be punished. And so understanding that the process, and it is a process of unlocking your creativity. Remember, that's steps 3 and 4, right? Process. It's a journey of unlocking your creativity and having the intellectual awareness and understanding that the resistance because of the threat is going to be part of it can help you kind of move through and mitigate those situations when they arise in you. And the reality is for me, I was a creator as a kid, right? I had imaginary friends and I taught them school lessons and I had my stuffed animals there and I wrote stories and I wrote poetry and I built forts and like the floor was lava. And I had just so much fun playing in this authentic creative expression. I also wrote a lot of stories and a lot of poetry. And I had a ton of thoughts. I journaled, I had a diary, and I kept all of those things, just tucked in my nightstand. I didn't publicize, I didn't publish everything that I created. But in 2016, this was right after I got certified as a coach and I was about to move. I was going through the process of, going through the stuff in my house, right? To decide, is this something that I'm going to keep or is this something that I'm going to throw away? And in those moments, I reconnected with all of my journals and all of my stories and all of my poetries. And I, in that moment of reconnection, I realized that this part of me had been forgotten. So I didn't even realize that I had drifted so far away from my relationship with creativity. And I won't get into all the story right now because we certainly don't have any enough time for all of that. But in my later high school years and early college, there was just a lot of trauma that I just started to check out in. And I remember this moment in 2016, sitting on the floor in my bedroom, and you guys, I was reading my journals And I was reading the poetry that captured the depth of my human emotion and desire and anger. And I remember thinking, nobody can see this. They can't find out about me. They can't know who I am. They cannot know about the darkness. They cannot know about the pain. And they can't know about these desires. Because I really, truly thought that if they found out who I was, that it would be bad. I remember, and I can reconnect with the presence of the story in my body, because I do remember how I felt in the moment. And I gathered up, you guys, every single thing that I created, and I took it into my kitchen sink and I set it all on fire. I burned it because there was no way that I was going to allow anybody to ever read any of the things that were me. And so my journey inside of becoming a coach and really reconnecting and reestablishing this relationship with this creativity, right? With this entity, this beautiful creative entity, I started to learn and understand intellectually, right, the importance of creating content. And it took, there were phases and evolutions of my journey. So at first, you guys, what I would do is I would read somebody else's quote and it would really resonate with me. And so I would share it, right? Like, oh, I really like this thing that Coach Sean Smith said. And I would share his thing. And that was my way of letting the world know, hey, this thing, this resonates with me. Now, I didn't say that. I just shared their stuff. And then what happened is I started to, after just sharing their stuff, I would add a couple thoughts. Right? I would be like, this really lands with me and here's why. Right? So that was a second phase in my journey. I didn't have the courage in that moment. I didn't feel safe. It was still a threat for me to have my own ideas and my own perspectives, but I paced myself into the process. Then from there, you guys, it was about me venturing into the world of video. Now, for me, this was different than writing. I spent a lot of time in that space trying to perfect the irrelevant. And I was on a coaching call with Sean Smith when he asked me how much longer I was going to continue staying in this space. How much longer, Michelle, are you going to continue to perfect the irrelevant? And the reason I was doing that, I don't know if you guys remember in this video Sean did earlier in one of our earlier trainings, he shared that when he was with his boxing coach, he told his boxing coach that he didn't want to get good, he wanted to be good. And that was my journey with content creation, right? I didn't want to go through the process of getting good, meaning I had to be willing to suck. I wanted to just be to the other side, and I wanted to be this prolific, even though I honestly didn't know what that word meant, content creator. I wanted to just produce a ton of content, and I wanted it to be, earth shattering and soul moving. And I just wanted to skip the part where I wasn't really good. And in those moments where I learned and got, I say, lovingly slapped across the face, when he asked me how much longer I was going to continue, you guys, to perfect the irrelevant, that's when I made a decision to commit to the process. And I made a decision that I was going to commit to the process of creativity and commit to the process of getting good. And from there, that was another huge shift for me. I started to share my own ideas. I started to share my own content. Now, it did have a feel of other people's content because, hello, that's how creativity works. You see something, you get an inspired thought, and you create something new. But it wasn't fully my voice yet, but it was evolving to be that. Right. And I do remember feeling ashamed for a long time as I looked at other people's stuff, because I write poetically and I don't use proper grammar and I don't always know what all the words mean. And sometimes I feel like I'm a much better writer than I am speaker because I can edit my stuff before I post it. And I moved through all of this stuff, you guys. And now I'm at this place where I have full permission to create as my authentic self. I create in the way that I create. I create in the tone of my own voice. I create what is in resonance with my seekers, what they need to hear. I honestly don't give a shit if it doesn't resonate with somebody else because it wasn't for you. I create from the place of things that are inspiring to me. And now the space that I'm in my journey with creativity, which is still ongoing, friends, is about playing with the marketing. What's really going to land, and how am I going to be able to take this meaningful message and really make it marketable? But you can't get there without going through all of the other iterations early on, right? You can't get there. And that's where most people start, without giving yourself permission to go through the journey. And it could take you less time than it took me. It could take you more time than it took me, but it is a journey. And what I want you to know, and it is teachable and it is learnable, is that you can do this. You can learn to get into right relationship with your creativity so that you can pace yourself through this journey and give yourself the safe experience of your full, authentic, creative expression.
I was going to say well said, but it feels like that was not just said. Well expressed and felt. And please, everybody that just listened to that and watched that, let us know, let Michelle know, let everybody else know how that landed for you.
Yeah.
And there are so many things that she said that, we'll highlight in future videos inside this course that we'll tell you about, and, just continue this big conversation, because it is a process. Most people don't want to do the process, and without the process, the outcomes are impossible. So to some degree, this is simply a choice. Are you going to choose to go through the required process that will, for most of us, feel like a threat to all of our conditioned layers? Or will you continue to overcompensate with and through and because of the layers? And if you choose to go through the process, it'll be a while. I don't know how long it'll take. It depends. Depends on how strong those layers are. But what a lot of you see in Michelle is what you've come to appreciate and experience and want to be like to some degree. Not that you want to be exactly like her, but you want the creativity, you want the freedom, you want the power that you see. And that's the top of Mount Everest, you guys. What she just explained to you in a very, very condensed version is the journey up to Mount Everest. And had Michelle in 2016 or 18 or even 2020 just gone to this place and had the spotlight, she would have retreated.
Oh, sure.
This process is required in every possible way to talk about it. As I was thinking about maximizing your potential and what Michelle just opened up, one of the things we have to understand, and your brain will not like this, what I'm about to say, your brain will not like.
Well, I'm going to give you full screen. Thank you.
Perfect. So when we overcompensate for something, and then we remove the thing that we were overcompensating for, we need to relearn everything that the overcompensation was a seed to grow into. What I mean by that is, if you create like an alter ego of a funny person, let's say, so that people don't see who you are, and then you recognize that that alter ego is actually suppressing who you really are, you have learned a lot of skills with that alter ego. When that alter ego gets removed from you, not that we need to destroy and dismiss and all the things that we've created for ourselves, but when we take those layers off, anything that's attached to the layers needs to be relearned again. So many of you have learned how to sell as an inauthentic version of yourself, or you've learned how to sell a commodity. You've learned how to sell information. When you remove those layers and now you get to the point where you're selling transformation instead of information, you might have to relearn how to sell. If you're now sharing your vulnerable truth, you might have to relearn how to be in the spotlight. You're going to have to relearn authentic alignment if what you've learned already hasn't been authentic. And that's not a bad thing. I don't want you to think, oh, that means I got to go all the way back to the drawing board. Actually, it's very quick to relearn something that's based on your authenticity. It's so exhausting to overcompensate and to hide and to be in some version of what Michelle shared. If they found out who I really was, they wouldn't like me. They wouldn't buy my program. They wouldn't love me. They would dismiss me. They would disapprove of me. They would abandon me. So I can't let them know who I really am, because our greatest fears are the world or individual people or societies or cultures knowing who we really are and dismiss the real version of us. That's our deepest fear. So what we do is we overcompensate by making sure they don't know who we are. Because then if they dismiss us, they didn't really dismiss the real us. But in the process of not letting the world dismiss the real us, we have dismissed the real us so that nobody else dismisses the real us. And then the only way that they can approve of what we're showing them is by approving of some not version of us. That's the process of human behavior, you guys. That's how we do this thing. This is not a character trait that you either have or don't have. This is not a function of you being disciplined or you just turning the switch on and saying, okay, I'm going to believe in myself. That's not how this works. Is that the top of Everest? Yes, but you have to climb the hill. You cannot skip the process that's required to get to where you want to go if we're talking about human programming. So how do you take all of this and apply it to your journey as a creator and as a coach? I think there are three functions or three elements in the process of maximizing your potential. Keyword is your potential. Maximizing your potential. I think there are three main ingredients: creativity, entrepreneurship, and embodiment. Nobody's looking for those. Almost nobody's looking for those. If we are looking for those things, we're looking for the shortcuts. We're looking for the hacks. Just tell me the law or tell me the rules of how to make money instead of the laws of being an entrepreneur. So over the last 17 years, I've been in this personal development journey myself and with so many other people. And my mind just constantly works with what's wrong? What's wrong? How can we fix this? What are the missing ingredients? Why do people who really have the ability and the skill and the desire not maximize their potential? And so now I can tell you after all of these years that these three main pieces are not what most people are looking for. And that's why most people don't actually create long-term sustainable embodied success. And what I want you to really understand about these three things is they're all personalized. They're all unique to you. You have a creativity inside of you that nobody else has. You have the potential for entrepreneurship built around you as the most important ingredient and the most valuable ingredient, and nobody else's entrepreneurial journey will match yours, especially if it's built upon your authentic value. And you have embodiment. You are carrying around things in your body, some of which you know, most of which you don't, because that's how unconscious embodiment works. Your journey toward embodiment is personal to you. The reason I say this is because if you want foundational success, it's a personal journey. And then the stuff that we learn with the skills can actually stick. But if you don't have the embodiment of and the essence of and the true roots of these three things, then the skill set will all be temporary at best because they're not coming from within. They're not coming from inside of you. We're going to open up these three things at a deeper level. We just simply don't have the time to do it in this particular class. But a few things I want you to know. Embodiment is about your cellular learning. One of my most profound realizations was when I heard somebody talking about embodiment and he said, knowledge is only a rumor until it lives in your cells. Knowledge is only a rumor until it lives in your cells. It's a rumor. And I heard him say this is in 2016, and I just went, what did you say? Because I've been doing this for a long time. But I recognize there are a lot of things that I had in my head, saturated in my intellect, but not in my body. Knowledge is only a rumor until it lives in your cells. And what I need you to understand with any journey that requires growth and evolution, which the entrepreneurial journey does, you will not rise to the level of your motivation. You will not rise to the level of your intelligence. You will not rise to the level of your preparation in the form of memorization and knowing what to do going forward. When things get turbulent, you will always, as a human, fall to the level of your embodiment. Many of you, I'm sure, have had an experience where you maybe memorized the talk and you knew what you were going to say, and then you got up to speak and you forgot something. Michelle told me one time she misspelled her name in an airport or something. She was so out of it, like the name had 3 L's or something. And we've all done that. We've all done some version of that, whether it's with our name or what we were prepared to do or what have you, because something new is introduced. A couple of years ago, I did my very first TEDx talk. I had this talk down. It was in my body. So I thought, I got up on stage the day before and I got in that red circle, which meant a lot to me. And my body forgot a lot of the things that it knew when I wasn't in the red circle. So regardless of where you are, there's a place beyond that you haven't been. And when you get to that place and the body feels turbulence, it feels unexpected variables, it feels threatened, your intellect will be the first one that jumps off the plane. I want you to imagine being in a plane and it hits turbulence and we don't know if we're going to make it. Your intellect is the first one that will jump off the plane and it will take the parachute with it. So the more that you put your trust and hope and desire and livelihood and financial success and emotional stability inside your intellect, I want you to know it will be the first off the plane. And this is what almost all of us do. I did it too. I still do it. It's human programming. We are driven by and we think we're fueled by the intellect, and it's the first thing that will fail us. So if you want long-term stability, it's got to be in your body. And embodiment training is different, completely different than intellectual learning. Embodiment training is completely different than intellectual learning. They go together. If you learn intentionally together, on top of your embodiment training, you have intellectual learning. We don't want the head to be dismissed. We just want it to be used proportionally to the situation and appropriately. But if all we have is the intellectual learning, the embodiment training does not come with it. In fact, it'll probably be the opposite, meaning that we're doing more damage to our embodiment training the more that we only focus on intellectual learning. So this is where so much of the things that we talk about is a challenge, because none of us are doing the wrong things. We're just doing the right things that are misaligned for us. It's not that the intellect is a bad thing or the ego is a bad thing or that we don't need those things. We just don't need only those things. And we don't need those things in certain times of our journey. And so it's a constant back and forth. This journey is really, if you imagine your right foot is your embodiment training and your left foot is your intelligence, we're going left, right, left, right, left, right. We're not just hopping on one foot for 6 months. We're using them in conjunction, but you have to be paced through that because it's not naturally conditioned learning. So if you relate to this, if you relate to knowing what to do, but then not doing it when you get on the phone with somebody or when it's time to turn the camera on, all this means is it doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you have no chance. It doesn't mean you should just quit. It means it's not in your body yet. And one of the phrases that we've had in our community over the last 5-6 years now is, do you have the body for that thing? And it's the only thing that matters. It's not, do you have the mind to do Facebook Lives? It doesn't matter. Do you have the body for it? And if you don't have the body for it, you will sabotage yourself. One of my favorite stories about this is, if you have cats, you will have experienced this, I'm sure. We've had cats my whole relationship with my wife. So 25 years we've had cats. And one of the hardest things to do with cats is put them in the cat carrier the second time and then every time after that, right? The first time, usually they don't really know what they're doing and they're curious by nature, and you just put them in that cat carrier and they're like, oh, okay, that's cool, we're going somewhere. And then you take them to the vet and they get violated and they associate the violation to the pet carrier and they're like, never again will I go in that thing, because that thing led to that thing that I don't ever want to experience again, right? I'm joking a little bit with this, but I think this is exactly how cats make the association. And then try to put the cat in the cat carrier next time, and the cat doesn't actually fit in the cat carrier unless they let you put them in the cat carrier, right? So next time you try to put the cat in the cat carrier, what do most cats do? Some version of this, right? Nope, right? Like, not gonna happen, right? This paw goes this way, this paw goes that way, that claw goes that way, this claw goes in your nose. And you try to stuff that cat in the cat carrier when it already associates pain to it. It's going to be a rough one. This is going to be a rough one. I actually met somebody, talk about entrepreneurship. I actually met somebody who built a business around putting cats in the cat carriers. She would go into homes and put people's cats in the pet carrier because, you know, usually they're all scratched up by the time they cut her a check, right? My point is this: your body will go, nope, if it's not trained to do the thing that you want it to do. And we will always have that response. Nope. But we can learn to move through it. And we can dissolve the response at our current level and then go to another level. And then hopefully you'll have another nope response. This is not about removing fears, removing doubts, removing insecurities. I've been doing this for a long, long, long time. Some of you saw the video that I did, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. It was after a big conference that I just spoke at, and my body was activated in a way that it hasn't been activated in a long time. And I've spent thousands and thousands of hours on stages, but this was just a nope moment. I've just learned that the process of growth and evolution is really navigating the nope. Put that on a t-shirt. It's about navigating the nope. Most of us, though, think we should first remove the nope. Because you think I don't have it. And you think Michelle doesn't have it. And you think Lisa Nichols doesn't have it. And you think Tony Robbins doesn't have it. You think Jack Nichols, I don't know why my brain went there. Jack Canfield doesn't have it. You think the people that are on the stages doing the things that you want to do don't have it. And that's not true. It's just not true. It's a misunderstanding of what this process is like. God, there's so much. There's so much to this conversation. You know, it's killing me to stop here. Michelle, you know, it's killing me to stop here. This conversation is something so near and dear to my heart. And I've been wanting to do an embodiment course since I took my embodiment course in 2016 because it fundamentally changed my entire life. I was like, this is a game changer, right? After 10 years in this, I didn't realize the embodiment piece. And I haven't done a course on that. I've also wanted to do a course on creativity, and I haven't done a course on that. And I've also wanted to do a course. I always want to do a course on helping coaches succeed in the business world and the foundational stuff. And we've done a few courses on that. But now we're actually going to put all of them together in the longest program I've ever led because it requires it. This is a long conversation, you guys. This is a long conversation. This is not a simple pitch or a simple hack is the word I wanted. This is not just a hack. This is not a detour. If you believe in what we've been saying, that this is a process, this is about removing layers that are inauthentic to you. This is about relearning skills or unlearning skills that are not aligned for you and relearning skills that are aligned for you, and starting with the value that you have as a human and building a business around that from the inside out. It's the only way that you can build a business that's meaningful to them, your seeker, fulfilling to you as the product and as the creator, and financially successful for your business, for your bank account, to fuel your mission. Those three things cannot be aligned unless the original seed planted is you. Unless we melt the mud off of what we've been collecting and then start over again. But here's the cool thing. A lot of those skills, remember how I said, if you learned how to sell as an inauthentic version of you, you might have to relearn how to sell. But here's the cool thing. You don't have to fully relearn how to sell. Most of those skills, or a lot of those skills, are actually in your body. You just don't know them yet. And they're not actualized with your real self because they haven't been used with your real self yet. But they're actually there. We have more skills in our body than we know about because we don't give ourselves permission to use them in an authentic way. So the beauty in this is, if you've spent 20 years hiding behind a mask, it won't take you 20 years to relearn how to do this without the mask. It will be a lot, I hesitate to use the word faster, but it'll take a lot less time. Michelle, you said something, I don't know if it was a couple days ago. I don't think it was on camera, but you were talking about if it took you 10 years to walk into a forest, you're not going to come out of the forest in 6 months or whatever the thing is. But here's the cool thing, you guys. We haven't actually been walking 10 years straight in the forest. We've been walking in this crazy pattern. It's more like we're following a labyrinth because we've been lost. So we might have walked for 10 years or we might have walked for 10 miles, but the path out is actually a straight line. So the path out might be a year when we've been fumbling around for 15 years. And I don't want you to think that we're making any kind of promises or it's linear for anybody. But the point is, it's actually a lot quicker to learn with alignment and authenticity because you're not holding up all of the layers that are not you. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes of this program. We've been telling you we got a program coming and nobody can buy it because we didn't even have anything ready to go. And we finally have something ready to go. So for those of you that know, this is the program that you want to join for, and this is a full year, you guys. We're going to be with you for a full year. It's going to be a lot of support because you don't need support with the information. Hopefully that's landed for you. You need support with the implementation and the iteration. You need the support with the resilience. You need the support when you know this is the process. That there are plenty of videos that Michelle did that nobody ever saw, that I did that nobody ever saw. There are plenty of times when we created something, we hated it, and we didn't let it get the oxygen that it deserves. The process. Most people are actually going through the right process, deciding that it's wrong, and so they quit. So we want to support you through all of that stuff. The meaning, the fulfillment, and the success. We want to support you with the 3 I's. See, I have a philosophy that your success in business, especially a transformational business like this, is not going to be about your IQ, like intelligence quotient. It's not about your intelligence. It's your I cubed. It's your information plus implementation plus iteration. And the last 2 are the most important. And that's where people need support, but that's where people generally don't get to because they're just stuck on the information, and implementation feels uncomfortable. And then they just bounce between new information to discomfort, and this back and forth motivation is where most people, like most dreams, die there. Between I just felt that between the information and the discomfort of implementation, most dreams die there. We need support to get to iteration. We need support to get to the creative evolution. So this is an embodiment program. This is not a rules program. This is not a quick fix program. It's not a Band-Aid program. This is an embodiment program. It will look different. It will feel different, and it will produce different. because it's different. It's a different game. This is embodiment. It's going to be a process. It's going to be your individual evolution inside of this group. And this is not a year-long program. This is a reprogramming for the rest of your life program. Because what we're doing is changing essence. We're removing things that are overcompensating. We're stepping into authenticity. We're learning in a way that we've not learned before, and you'll be able to use that for the rest of your life, not just for these 12 months that we'll be together. And you'll have so much support. We'll tell you a lot more about the details of the program, but I mean, we're essentially doing what we've invited you to do. Is we're giving you a lot of information, and then we're just inviting you to more. Like these entrepreneurial training, we're giving you a ton of information, and then we're saying, do you want more of that? Do you want us to be together for an entire year to support you through these processes, not just tell you the processes that you need to make that you cannot do on your own? We cannot do embodiment training on our own, especially in the beginning when it's relatively new and there's something authentic that is being exposed, and this is about creativity. You know, there are these three things coming together: the creativity, the entrepreneurship, and the embodiment. And those three together form a potent recipe. And it's a different kind of learning. And we're not trying to create dependence for you. We don't want you to be dependent on us. We want you to be liberated. We want you to be independent. So we're going to start March 1st. I'm not even going to tell you any more details about this program, but some of you know that you need to be in the program, and so you can register for the program. We just literally published the site. It's like a few hours old. It is bit.ly.com or bit.ly/eSchool2022. We don't even have the site on our domain yet, coachshansmith.com yet. But that will take you to a place where you can register. It's a $2,000 program, $19.97, but there's also a payment plan. So you can pay monthly for this whole program if that's going to be better for your budget. And, you know, there's a risk in this. Honestly, I'm going to be fully transparent. There's a risk in this because most people don't buy the truth. Most people buy fantasy. And what we're offering you is the truth. What we're offering you is an embodied program to potentially fundamentally change your life. And I know that sounds like hyperbole. I know that sounds like, you know, like hype. And trust me, it is anything but hype. But the foundational shifts are the only way you'll be able to stand stable going forward. If all you do is chase fads, you will always be unstable. And I'm not interested in fads. I will not teach fads. And if that means less people buy our programs, great. We'll go with the ones who understand the value of long-term sustainability and who understand the value of foundation more than fads. So honestly, this is somewhat of a risk. We'll see. We'll see how many people, and I'm not saying this with any kind of shame. I'm just being transparent. We'll do some version of this in the Watch My Launch video later. We'll see. This opportunity for you is long-lasting, sustainable, truth, foundational change so that for the rest of your career, you can operate in a different way. And for those of you that know this program is for you, jump in. You don't even have all the details. And you don't need all the details if you know the program is aligned. For those of you that need the details, we'll give you more details as these videos continue and as we fill in the pages and so forth. And my challenge for you, and this isn't like some gimmicky sales trick, my challenge for you is, what do you need to know? Because what the head searches for is reasons to not. While the soul is just dying to be bet on. And if you need more details, this is not a shame tactic. If you need more details, we'll tell you more details. And if you don't, jump in the program. We will incentivize the first 25 people that join the program. Again, this is not like fear of missing out. If you're not aligned with this program, don't join. But if you are, and you want to take advantage of the incentive, then the first 25 people will do like a private mastermind with just us and you as a group, as a small, intimate group, somewhere just after the program starts. So if that's you, we'll see you in the program, and we'll continue to bring lots of this training. You can see that there's so much that we want to talk about. It's crushing it's so hard to keep these down to 25, 30-ish minutes. And now we're hitting 40 because I just talked about this program. But there's a lot to do, you guys. There's a lot to do in this world. There's a lot to do with you and your unique value. And we want to be here for the long haul with you. So that's it for now. We'll see you on class number 14. Take care.